Hey everyone, this is one of our special SLAP School series segments, it's hard to say, on mindset. And as I've been saying in other segments, my belief is that strongly how we manage our mind as business owners is probably the most important element of building a successful small business. So we've got Joyce Sunada here from Joyful Endeavors. Joyce is a fellow Albertan, which is very fun. And is just an incredible human being who I think has a lot to share on this topic. So Joyce, if you wouldn't mind, just tell us a little bit about you and your work.
Thank you for having me, Carissa. I am known as the wellness educator here in Alberta, and I help educators prevent burnout, increase their wellness so that they can positively impact our future generations.
Amazing. Amazing. And how important, is that as the world modernizes, as we realize how interconnected we are, right? Like the impact of teachers and educators is this is not what this segment's about, but it's just such what's the word I'm looking for? An unsung hero being an educator, right? It's such a hard job. So good that you're helping them with that.
Well, and it's so important if the educator is well, that really has a positive impact on the students. And if the educator is not well, it has a negative impact on the students. So really important that we take good care of ourselves as educators, again, so that there's that positive ripple effect.
Totally. And I would use the analogy, or I would assume that actually applies directly to being a business owner, right? Like if you are a business owner that's not well, the ripple effect that has on your staff, your customers, the people that you influence is really significant.
Absolutely. It's what I've learned is it's kind of like my business grows in proportion to me and my wellness, my mindset, how confident and how well I am. It really over the last 5 years has kind of exponentially grown based on how well I am and how again, how confident and how well I take care of myself. It is reflected in my business.
So talk to me about burnout. I think that, yeah, I know we all laugh. Every business owner is laughing right now. I definitely in my kind of long journey as an entrepreneur have experienced moments of burnout, and, it's devastating. Those are also the moments, of course, not surprisingly, where my business suffered the most. So what do you know about burnout? How would you describe burnout? How do you identify if you're burnt out? Just talk to us about everything you know about burnout.
Well, all right. So I know what not to do because in 2006, I actually burned myself out. I was a school administrator. So I guess a school administrator, we could kind of parallel to being in charge of a business or a group
Definitely.
of people. And I put myself in a 24/7 on button where I'm always available and sure, email me. And yes, I will supervise. And at the same time, being a school administrator, I also have 3 daughters that were growing up. They're all in competitive soccer and very busy as well. However, I just felt that I needed to give and contribute to everyone. And sometimes in our businesses, we do that. We want to have the most incredible customer service, and we pride ourselves in, email me at any time. I'm on 24/7. However, what happens is then our body is totally in fight or flight and can even freeze. And so then we're not available because we're kind of in panic mode. So going back to my own personal burnout is I just thought, in giving constantly and being there to support everyone else, I actually burned myself out. I had to take a year medical leave.
Wow.
And so now instead of being available for everybody, when you're actually physically placed on the sidelines, then there's no contribution. So thinking that, I can constantly give, I can be there without rest is a myth, and it will bring you down. And so I know, especially as sole entrepreneurs, if we're working on our own, then we feel it's up to us. However, in I think it was 2011 when I did some marathon training with the University of Calgary Marathon Group. It was specific that Mondays and Fridays, I think those were our rest days, those were rest days. There was 2 identified total, like do not run rest days. And so I started to apply that to life. You have to take certain times, whether it's a full day or a half a day, to simply rest, because going constantly, again, as I said, it really puts you into that fight or flight. The cortisol's pumping, and the result, kind of, it's a plummet, it's a burnout, and we don't want that to happen. We want to be able to give to our clients and our, customers. And what I tell people is, if you don't take time for your wellness, you'll be forced to take time for your illness. And that's exactly what I did. I was an administrator for 5 years. In that time frame, I think I took 2 days off because I had strep throat, and so had to be away from school. And then no days off because I pushed through it. And then a year's leave of absence, kind of to make up for that time of the crash. So there's kind of my perspective on burnout. Is it happens, it kind of sneaks up on us, and it could totally crash us, and it could crash us for a long time, which is then going to totally impact your business, because if you're not active in your business, you're unable to generate income, and you're unable to build your business. So be cautious. Notice, pace yourself. Yes, give fully to your customer when you're with them, and take time to fully rest when you have that opportunity, or not when you have the opportunity. It's to schedule that rest time in.
It's so interesting. So I have this theory about emotions, and it's connected, right? Like, your emotions are going to come out, right? Either they're going to come out because you process them in a healthy way, or they're going to come out, right? If you're not prepared to process all of your emotions in a healthy way, they're going to come out in negative ways. And actually what you're saying is the same, right? Like, if you're a business owner and you just want to be as practical as possible, you can either take rest, right? And you can protect yourself from burnout in a kind of organized, sustained way that you have control over, or it's going to come at some point, right? Your body will make you rest, but if you're not the one that controls how that happens, you're not going to like what it looks like, right? It's going to look like having to take a year off, or it's going to look like having, a sustained period where you're ill. And, like, again, as someone who's a recovering burnouter and, work nonstopper, it's interesting how long it took me to understand that, right? Like, it's actually dumb to let yourself get that burnt out, right? Like, it's actually really, just from a purely practical point of view, it's not smart. Like, it's a bad business decision.
It absolutely is. And I'm chuckling because it's dumb, because when I'm going back to the time, kind of before my burnout, there were signs, and I kind of like, oh, there's, like you said, you kind of recognize that. However, ignoring it, you think, oh, I can push through it, and I can do this, and I've got this. And it was dumb, let's say. And I also believe we learn from that. And so back then it was devastating. And now I'm thinking, wow, if I didn't burn myself out, if I didn't go through that really tough, dark time, I wouldn't have come out and be so adamant about supporting other educators, business owners, to go, hey, you need to stop. You need to rest. So earlier off camera, we were talking about, let's not waste challenging times. When something devastating or, unexpected happens, it's like, experience it, like, feel the pain, feel the hurt, and know that in the future that can actually help to fuel you.
I think that's so great. And I think it's very entrepreneurial of you, right? Like, there's an opportunity in everything, even, being so burnt out that you can't work for a year, right? How do you feel the signs of burnout? I think one of the things that's so amazing about business owners is our tenacity and our determination. And when things are hard, we get tougher and we keep going. But I think that the shadow of that, again, certainly I can speak for myself, is you either literally don't see the signs, right? Or you just get rid of them and ignore them because they're in your way, and you've got to keep going. So what are signs of burnout that we can be aware of, so that we don't just keep going harder?
I think first of all is know thyself, is know your baseline, and understand, what's normal for you. And so it could be In some people, it's really deep darkness. It's sadness or lethargic, being lethargic. 3 of the flags that I missed is living at a frenetic pace. You know, you just get going so fast and so furious that, okay, like you said, you push through it. And I'm making my hands, you know, purposely be blurry because that's how often I operated, and I see some of my colleagues operating. The second sign is memory loss. Is like, oh, it's just not that ability to think clearly and forgetting things. And then the third sign that I miss is that constant feeling of hopelessness. I mean, there's always times in our business where we feel hopeless. We're like, oh, will this ever come together? But that constant, it's like every day is an effort and every day is hopeless, and you don't see the end in the tunnel. So those are 3 of the flags, but they can vary. I think the main thing is that knowing your baseline and the drasticness of mood changes over time. And when that's happening is to really explore it, is to reach out, you know, for medical assistance, talk to others, and make sure that you surround yourself with support.
Do you think, so that's actually really interesting, do you think that, well, I'm asking a leading question. Let me think about it and ask this differently.
Okay, lead me, Carissa, lead me. I'll do my best not to fall into that. Okay.
Okay, I'll go a different way. I'll say what you just said made me think. One of the things that I notice with business owners is that they assume that because they feel a certain way, it must be true, right? Like, that person just said no to my proposal. I feel terrible. Therefore, my business is terrible, right? But practically, objectively, no, your business is still fine, and you have 7 other proposals out, and, you know, by law of nature, a bunch of people are going to say no to you, and so it's not a big deal. But I feel like, you know, part of being able to build tenacity is sort of learning to almost turn your emotions off. And this was work I had to do. I had gotten so good at turning all my emotions off, so because it was too overwhelming, that I actually turned so much of them off that I didn't notice the important signals. So what's your personal experience or your advice for how you regulate your emotions, but still feel them so that you can notice signs of burnout, but you can process them, but, you know, what's your thought on how you do that in a healthy way?
One thing I've learned over the years is, in my pre-burnout, you're right, anything that felt uncomfortable, it was like a push, push, push. But what you notice, if you go and you push at somebody, what happens? It's like they're going to push back. So over the years, something that really helps is when there is a negative emotion and positive emotions, is allow them. And it's almost like saying to yourself, okay, you know, anger or fear or doubt is like, okay, you're welcome here. And almost like energetically allowing it to penetrate and feeling it. And then there's just a natural release. And that took a long time. And even sometimes today, you know, if I'm afraid or I have to, you know, make a proposal, it's like, oh, I hope it works. But doing it and allowing it to turn out. I hope that makes sense. And I think that's something that as individuals, you're right. Like, we want to get the business, we want to write good proposals, we want it to work out. And so we're pushing, but when there is something that's negative, to absolutely feel it, let it, you know, kind of let it go through us. And then, okay, it actually feels less painful, and it gives that time for us to process it. And, oh, okay. Coming at our business through curiosity. Oh, well, that proposal didn't get accepted. Oh, okay. Well, I might change it differently next time. And just curiosity is so much more joyful, isn't it? It's like, I wonder why that didn't work. And then maybe asking questions is, okay, why didn't that work? Whether it's self-reflective or other fellow entrepreneurs, or going back to the client and saying, well, was there something I could have added that could have made that more attractive? So I guess bottom lining that is feeling the emotions, allowing them to hurt. Even sometimes now I'll hear a song or some music and it just makes me feel sad. And so I just sit there and I maybe cry for 2 minutes or 10 minutes, and then go, huh, okay, got it, and move on.
Yeah, it's funny. It's so counterculture. I think as entrepreneurs, we've been taught a lot of terrible, terrible, terrible lessons. I mean, if you just think about the popular culture of entrepreneurship, right? It's work nonstop, be a leader, disrupt everything, don't listen to any. I mean, it's like, it's a really sort of egocentric,
Really.
individualistic, kind of macho, and I don't mean that as in male, female, but just like kind of macho vibe, as opposed to, I mean, I literally think that is the exact opposite of how you succeed as a business owner, right? I mean, I really think that you succeed as a business owner when you're connected to yourself, you're humble, you're connected to others, you're, you know, you're heart-centered, you're trying to do good work, but you're focused on your wellness. Like, it's really interesting how I think how far we've gone away from what it really takes to be successful, and we've got this storyline that people are aspiring to, but it's making us ill, it's making us burn out. You know, it's an unattainable idea, that has somehow become the popular idea.
I agree. And when you talk about heart-centered, we can be heart-centered and our head can help inform. So we can work together. Sometimes we get so head-centered, so logical, so thinking in the thinking mode, it kind of takes us off our game. Whereas there's often times when we're even looking at business decisions and we know, like, there's a sense in our heart, it's like, okay, I just know that I need to do this, or I'm wanting to do this. And then logically, we talk ourselves out of it, or there's something that we know, okay, that doesn't feel right. That's not the right client for me. But we, you know, we become logic and we talk ourselves into it. I said, I can justify anything, you know, like those shoes or what, you know, whatever. Our mind can really justify anything. So we need to be informed in our heart, and then our mind can help us figure out the details of how to go about it.
I love that. You said something earlier I want to go back to, because I've actually never
Okay.
thought of it this way, but it's kind of genius. You used a quote about wellness and illness, and I feel like one of the things that I always believe is true for myself is, you know, life is a series of choices, and I can choose what my life looks like in a lot of ways. You know, I can't control my circumstances, but I can choose who I am. And this
Mhm.
idea that there's a choice and it's wellness or illness, that's interesting, because all of a sudden wellness is not like woo woo, you know, maybe I should be do wellness one day, but if you actually really go to that level of simplicity, all right, what do you want to choose, people? Wellness or illness? Your
Mhm.
choice. Um, then all of a sudden wellness is a practical decision, not a like woo woo wellness decision. Um, do you think it's that clear cut? Is that a choice? Is it wellness or illness?
That's a good question. I think in the context of the quote, if you don't take time for your wellness, you'll be forced to take time for your
Yeah.
illness. The intention is really to have people pause and be more conscious of choices.
Yeah.
In business, like you said, we show up into our offices, we might not be clear, we might be under the weather, and that affects the choices, and maybe it affects the proposal that we write. Whereas if we pause and we go, do you know what, today I'm just under the weather, I'm going to put out of the office on my email and I'm going to sleep for half a day. So I'm choosing that, and then I believe we come back stronger. So we have to take those moments to, again, I guess it's a pause and go, okay, what's going to be most beneficial? Yes, I can push through the proposal, you know, and I can do this. And however, you know, what's the impact on that proposal? What's the impact on the client? So caring for ourselves is actually showing that we're caring for others, because when our cup is full, we're energized, we're feeling healthy, then the quality of our work is better and our interactions are better. So that's the intention of that. And choice to choice, I mean, you know, moment to moment in our choices, yes, you know, I think that helps to support our wellness as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
I actually think it's actually really clarifying for me. I'm literally sitting here feeling very convicted, like, about the number of choices that I made today and how many of them
Mm.
would be leading me in the path of wellness or leading me in the path of illness, right? And of course, it's not immediate, but all those choices do add up to sort of being your well self, or, you know, being compromised in some way. And so it's really profound to sort of just frame your day-to-day behavior in that lens, right? Am I making a choice that's leading me towards wellness or, you know, towards illness? It's really interesting. I also really agree with, you know, when as a business owner we push ourselves, we're probably not winning, right? We're probably doing a crappy job on that proposal, right? Or we're probably going to a meeting and not, you know, putting the dots together in the way that we could if we were our best self. And so I think we think that if I push through, I'll get it done. But I don't think we're asking if I give myself the rest I need, or if I do it when I'm in a better place, will I get it done better, right? And I think we miss out on our best performance by just driving all the time.
Well, and I think sometimes because the to-do list is so long, that we're like, okay, I got that, I've checked that, I've done that meeting, I've got that proposal out, and taking that time to slow down and giving it our best, and maybe doing less. Like less is more is a great motto. And so sometimes it's just like, okay, let's take some quality proposals, some quality clients, and really invest in them. And rather than, okay, I can do all of this, or I'm going to slap some mud up on the walls and hopefully it'll turn out. Totally. So being conscious of that. And I love the simplicity of what you just said, is like our every single choice helps to lead us to where we're going. And I love sweets, I love desserts. And so it's even as simple as, oh, okay, should I have that piece of cake, or one piece of cake, or two pieces of cake? And so part of it is being aware of our choices. And ultimately, every choice has a consequence, and a consequence can be positive or negative. And so just breaking it down to being aware, and what are the choices we're making today? We don't necessarily have to think, 5 or 10 years down the road, but just go, oh, here's a choice. Okay, I can have a sliver, I cannot have any, or I can have half a cake. Right? So,
or the whole cake. Just go all the way, Joyce.
Okay. Have you been to my kitchen? So I love how you're just so simple. And sometimes circumstances bump us where we get emotional. It's like, oh, I just need to do this, or I want to do this. And so just being, I guess, aware and conscious of our choices and our decisions.
Yeah, that's really helpful for me, actually. It feels very grounding. That's very, very helpful for me. Okay, one more question for you. Okay. So we've talked about burnout. What's the alternative, right? So how do you focus on wellness? What's your opinion on sort of the best things that, business owners, people, humans can do to choose wellness, to live in a version of the world where our mind and our body is well, and therefore we, are living our best life and doing our best work?
Well, first of all, I want to tell people that you are creative, resourceful, and whole. That comes with my coaching hat on. That you are the expert on your life. And so really at some level, you know what's best for you. So I don't want to go, oh, here's a litany of what you need to do in order to be well. Because I'm a speaker, and so I gave a session on wellness, and one of the ladies said, I am not meditating. I hate meditating. So for me as the wellness educator to go, oh, I think everyone should meditate would be foolish. So when you ask what we can do, is life is an experiment. And I forget that because I want things to go well, and I want them to be right, and I want people to thrive, and I want to thrive. However, it's important that you, as an entrepreneur, experiment. What works for you? And over the years, what I've discovered for me is some sort of schedule. And I like to get up in the morning, take my pup for a walk, come in, do my meditation, and then on with my day. So those are the two anchors. It's kind of like sets the stage, and it's like, okay, I'm feeling grounded and I'm feeling ready. After that, I think it just depends on what needs to be done that day. but definitely movement and meditation have served me. And so what I would say to others is explore what makes sense to you. And I encourage everybody to for sure move during the day, some sort form of exercise. Some people love dancing, some people love running, some people love cycling. So whatever it is for you, but figure that out. Know what works best for you. Know if there's certain music that you can put on that can boost your energy, or is there a quiet meditation? So knowing what works best for you. There's no shortage of resources on wellness tips, tricks, and what you can, should do.
It's actually
But
exhausting
again,
to do well.
pardon me,
It's
what did you say?
It can be exhausting trying to do well because there's just so much information. Yeah.
Right. And so, so look at the information, figure out, experiment, like what feels right for you, what helps you with your productivity. And for sure, I would say also is rest. Something that often people ignore is a good sleep. So, setting up a sleep routine before bed, getting a good, it could be 6 to 8 hours, again, whatever works best for you, and then waking up refreshed, going into your schedule. I hope that wasn't too loose, but
That's great.
I think the really important that people experiment and figure out and know even what they eat. I find if I have like a glass of wine or something late in the evening, the sleep is disruptive.
Right.
So, it is an experiment, and it's important that you figure out what feels best to you, and really just to tune in, because at some level we know what's good for us. And so listen and then put that into action.
I said that was going to be my last question, but I just want to come back to one thing you just said because it was really good.
Right.
Which is that I think that the world lives in this idea of, if someone's an expert, then they're going to give you a plan and you have to do the plan.
Yeah.
And if you don't do the plan, then you fail. And that I think is so actually limiting. And so what I love about what you just said that I really want to, remind everyone of is, we should take as much information as we can. And then I've also life is like just research and development. Everything I try is a new research and development moment. And this idea that we actually do know ourselves. And part of this journey with wellness is just actually creating enough space in our life to try different things, to see what calms our body and our mind, to see when we feel best. So I really appreciate that as an expert in this, you're not just giving a formula, but you're saying, no, the message is take care of yourself. The message is focus on your wellness, but do experiment to find what's truly right for you. I think that's really great.
And be gentle on yourself.
Yeah.
Be loving and kind to yourself as if you were your own best friend. Would you berate your best friend? Would you, kick them when they're down because they're not feeling well? Absolutely not. So part of the core is to have a good relationship with yourself, is to know that you are enough. And today you're doing the best that you can. Did it look like maybe the rock star performance of yesterday? Maybe not. But maybe you need that time and space. So be gentle on yourself, figure out what really works for you, how you can nourish yourself, and then follow through. That's the important piece. Knowing it and doing it, sometimes there's a gap there.
Those are very different things. Yes. Okay, I'm asking you one more question. This is now just selfish because I want to know. Okay, this is really my last question though.
Okay.
Rest. I think, so I need to get better at rest. I'm not good at it. But I think that sometimes I'm resting, but I'm actually like watching something on Netflix, or I'm really looking at my phone. That's actually that's not rest. I usually feel more drained after that. So what is rest? If you have, let's just say that every business owner put, 2 blocks of rest in their calendar a week, which I think would literally change the world. What do we do when we're what is rest? What do we do when we're resting?
That's a very good question. I think an important piece would be to shut down the electronics.
Yeah.
And rest for me would be outdoors, someplace calm. Yeah. And again, you as a business owner need to identify what's your rest. I will suggest for sure on the sleep piece in the evening is create a routine. when we were kids, or when when my girls were younger, is we would maybe have a bath. We'd read stories, we'd rub the backs, we'd have a drink of water, we would we would separate daytime, work time, school time from bedtime. So I think if you're going to set up a rest time during the day, is to somehow separate it. But for sure at night is to take the time, to shut off the electronics at least 30 minutes, if not more. Maybe read, you've got your, your hygiene, your brush your teeth, whatever it is, your sleep routine is to set that up so that there's a separation between work and rest. And what you'll find is that, that there's that distinct piece. It's just like, even when you go into a meeting, perhaps you're prepping for that meeting and then you arrive. So you're prepping to wind down your day, and then, now I can relax and now I can sleep. So rest is really important. And for me personally, is shutting the electronics off, because sometimes what that does is trigger, look what Carissa's doing. Oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough. It's like, this and that fabulous. And I should text this person. And oh my God, I didn't post on Facebook and I missed somebody's birthday. Whew.
Totally.
So even though it feels like we're just chilling out and we're numb, the brain is still going. So what's something that you can do to shut that off and then get into your sleep time?
Maybe every entrepreneur needs to take up like a hobby, like building puzzles or something. I feel like we all need something that is not thinking, that we need to sort of like be able to shift into. Maybe that's the next big idea.
And being present. So let's say I'm building a puzzle, is to be present and conscious of what I'm doing, rather than I'm putting this puzzle, but I'm thinking about my next assignment, or I'm coloring, but I'm really thinking about, oh my gosh, I need to be doing this. So part of it is being mindful, is being where you are, being present. So as I'm talking to you, it's been great because I'm just engaged in your conversation. I'm waiting for your questions, not even thinking about my answers, is totally being present. And that is where life gets juicy, and that's where it's fun. And that's where it's like, there's not stress. In this moment, there is nothing wrong.
Right. Here we are. This is it. Right here.
Here we are. And this is all we have to do for the next however long it is. And then we will say goodbye and we will go on to whatever we need to do, rather than kind of worrying. I said when we're worrying about the future or lamenting about the past, that's when we're stressed. Yeah. But when we're right here in the present, having a beautiful conversation, then all is well.
Totally. Isn't that so? I mean, I'm always struck. I've been on this wellness journey for a decade, and every single time I talk about it, I'm struck again by like how simple it is, right? Really, it's simple. How hard it is to do what is so simple, but like how transformative it is if we can just do these really simple things. It's amazing. And the benefit is so extraordinary, and that requirement is so minimal. It's crazy that we struggle to just make these small choices every day. It's crazy. We will do it.
And rest assured that in every moment we're not going to be perfect. It's okay. It's okay to take a few steps forward, 20 steps backwards. It's a journey. It's a ride. It's our life. That's how it unfolds. Like, not every moment is going to be the perfect choice. And that's okay, is again, to be gentle on ourselves.
Well, and isn't even that part of wellness, right? Giving yourself a break. Because the worst thing you can do is make a non-great decision, but then be hard on yourself. I mean, that's like literally missing the Okay, yes. This is so good. I feel like we could talk forever, but I think I've taken you longer than I said I would. Joyce, how do people find you? If they want to find you, connect with you, how do they find you?
My email address is joyce@joyfulendeavors.com. And because I'm in Canada, Endeavors is spelled ENDEAVOURS, endeavors.com, Joyful Endeavors. And my website is joyfulendeavors.com. And my phone number is 403-863-4228. And I'd be happy to have a conversation, explore what your needs are, and we can take it from there.
I love that. You just gave your phone number. That's so Alberta of you. I love that.
Oh, is that not a good thing?
No, I love it. I think it's great. Joyce, you're great. Thank you so much for your contribution and for the work that you're doing and for helping us think about wellness today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a delight to reconnect. I really appreciate you and all that you do for entrepreneurs, Carissa. Thank you.
Thank you.